What's up, guys? I welcome you in this beautiful video. So we are analyzing V75 using price action. So here on my chart, I am opening the 4-hour. I am opening it because there is something interesting which is clearly visible there. So let us just get started without any waste of time. So here we are on the 4-hour. We have the market moving down, and we have an interesting shift in the trend. Let me just highlight that. We can see that the trend started aggressively here, moving all the way down like that. Maybe let me just draw a trend line like so. It was moving so aggressively, but it had to shift the way it was flowing. It has to shift now and flow in a little bit slower way, which resembles some decline in terms of momentum. When the market changes the way it flows, it's a signal of a change in momentum or a change in strength. So this is something very, very interesting that as trend traders, we are very excited to come across such. So what does that mean? It actually means that, okay, the sellers, the way, it doesn't mean that it's over with them, but it means that the way they were demonstrating their power is a little bit less than they used to do before. Because if you can compare how steep these two trends are, you can see that there's a difference. They started aggressively, and there were no profound corrective waves here, but in this case we have now profound corrective waves. So let me just illustrate. You can see the corrective waves here, they are a little bit small, and then from this one on, they started to be a little bit bigger. They started to be a little bit bigger and lasting for quite some time. And as the corrective waves were starting to get a little bit bigger, I want you to pay attention on the impulsive waves, which were doing exactly the opposite, meaning they were getting a little bit smaller. You can see this impulsive wave is very, very huge. And then the next one, it's not that huge. And then the next one, it's a little bit small. And then the one which is currently playing, we are not sure of how it's gonna end. So this is something very, very, very interesting about this move. So let me just clear everything. So what does that tell us as traders? What does that mean? So I want you to pay attention on what happened here. Let me just do that. I want you to pay attention on what happened here. That we have these two lows, which are almost at the same level, meaning what we're expecting for this downtrend, we didn't receive. Because remember, for a downtrend, we're expecting the highs to continue and become lower, and we're also expecting the lows to continue and become lower. However, here we didn't receive that case, starting with this low here, which wasn't lower than the previous one, which was almost at the exact point, which is a sign which should raise questions to us that, okay, what is now happening with our downtrend? This is a sign that maybe the downtrend is coming to an end. And next, let's go to their highs. We're expecting the highs to be lower. Okay, we did have a lower high, but what happened with this one? Because now it's no longer lower, but it's like going up or a little bit at the same level, depending on how you look at it, but it's not a lower high. That's what you have to keep in mind. It's not a lower high. So which means, for the fact that both these signs of a downtrend are now violated, or both these rules of a downtrend are now violated, it has to raise questions to us that, should we continue to sell, or should we now look at the market at a different picture? It's obvious that we shouldn't continue with our selling trades or positions, because whatever that we have to follow when it comes to selling is already disobeyed. Let me just go to the 1 hour to clarify something. So if you go to the 1 hour, we have something very, very visible there. You can clearly see how the market is behaving. It's a very, very clear move that, okay, now the market is no longer stronger on the downside, because we're now receiving something which looks like a range, which is a sign that indeed their highs didn't manage to become lower, and indeed the lows didn't manage to become lower. So when we receive something like a range like this, you need to know that we are waiting for a breakout, which is like to happen on the upper side. Why? Because it was previously the market of the sellers, and they're becoming a little bit weaker, meaning the buyers, they are becoming a little bit stronger. As you can see, their waves, they were becoming more profound as the downtrend was proceeding. So what you should do as a trader, firstly, I don't want you to pay much attention on the smaller time frames, although when you want to enter, you can pay attention into them. But for now, what you have to do, you have to keep in mind whatever that is happening here. Firstly, you have to maybe expect a pattern break from this channel that is descending here, and when that pattern breaks happen, that's when you're gonna take your buys. Now, just buying as a means of taking advantage of this range, not as means of beginning the new uptrend that we're expecting, because we're not sure if it's gonna come. The only assurance that we're gonna receive, it is when we receive a breakout from this area up there. That's when you're gonna buy for the long term. But for now, what you'll have to do, you have to buy for the short term, taking advantage of this range. And what you have to know is that, okay, it's better when you put your stop loss somewhere in between the channel, not below here, because if you put it here, it's going to be a little bit far to your target, which will be somewhere around there. So when a breakout happens here, you have to put your stop loss a little bit closer so that your risk reward will be reasonable. I hope that is making sense. That's what we are expecting here. We're just expecting a breakout to happen on the upper side, but for now we can take advantage of this range, but be flexible to watch what the market is doing and then respond from there. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching.